Some consider the Arab-Israeli conflict one of the most complicated political problems in history. Its long history is the reason it is so complex. The basis of the conflict started during World War I, when the English promised the Zionists their homeland and as well promised a vast majority of the Middle East, including Palestine, to the Arabs in return of their help in the war. The British did have the right to give the land because they did have control over Palestine, but little did they know it would lead to such a big conflict. The land was ultimately given to the Zionists and treaties were at work, but there was not a success. The Arabs wanted all the land, and they caused many wars against the newly formed nation of Israel. Neither side is more deserving of the land, but probably the people who are most deserving of the land are the Palestinians, who are refugees in their own state. Originally, Palestinians were granted full rights in Israel, but no other nation, which is ironic because the Palestinians are Arab as well, so it would make sense for many other nations to grant them citizenship. But in turn, the Arab nations did not grant the Palestinian refugees education, voting rights, or even allowing them to own land. But after the UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Work Association, the association declared all Palestinian refugees and refused them to be granted full citizenship to any country in the Middle East until a state of Palestine is reformed. The problem with a state of Palestine becoming a country is because when Israel was being created, the original deal gave more land to Palestine than to Israel, and the Palestinians refused, so the UN gave all the plotted land to Israel. If the Palestinians would have accepted the deal, then there would be overcrowding in Palestine and in Israel, but there would not be refugees. As well, going back to the UNRWA, there would be no refugees if the UNRWA granted a right for the Palestinians to become citizens in a country other than Palestine. Google defines a refugee as a person who has been forced to leave their home in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. And the Palestinians are not being forced to leave. Their country just disappeared, but they are being allowed to live in Israel, so there should be no reason that they are considered refugees. The only other country that will give Palestinians equal rights is Jordan, but that's just a small portion of the Middle East. Some think the best way to solve the refugees problem is to donate more money. But where is that money going? So far, the Palestinians have received about 25 times more money per person than was given to Europe to help clean up the mess after the disasters of World War II. That was just given by the United Nations, but the Middle East has some of the richest countries in the entire world because their government's wealth from oil, and still they will not help the Palestinian refugees. But money still does not seem to be the solution, because even though there is much money given to Palestine, there is still no stable economy. The money must have helped if forming a Palestinian state was the main goal for the Palestinian leaders, but the money was given to a leader named Yasser Arafat, who used the money for personal spending instead of helping his people. Because the Palestinians still seemed as though they needed money, the United Nations kept on sending money to Arafat. Because of unjust rulers like Arafat, sending money to Palestine does not help solve their problem. The last time the Palestinian and Israeli leaders tried to make peace was in 2005. The Palestinian leaders promised peace if they were given Gaza. The Israel leaders complied and moved many Jewish settlers out of the Gaza area. This may have been a partial solution for both sides of the Palestinian if the Palestinians had not put Hamas, a terrorist organization, in charge Hamas is classified as a Sunni Islamic extremist terrorist organization. Ever since they have taken power, they have fired over 10,000 rockets into Israel. The rockets don't just kill Israelis, but also Palestinian refugees, which defeats the purpose of giving the Palestinians power over Gaza if they're going to kill those of their own nationality. The problem with the Arabs and the Jews in the Middle East is because there is such a dense population of both, there are many extremists, including the Israeli government, who arrests women for reading the Torah at the Western Wall. Neither side is particularly fond of making peace with one another. There is a high population of Muslims in the Middle East area which gives them an edge, but the Israeli Defense Force is one of the best militaries in the world. Because of the IDF, Israel has never lost a war, but has lost many citizens along with the surrounding nations. Both sides can argue the deaths of civilians, and much propaganda has turned people either pro-Israeli or pro-Arab. The Israelis I know have Arab friends, but say both Israelis and Arabs are taught to hate each other. But if both sides believed in interfaith relations, then an arrangement may be able to be worked out. No deal will work in the Middle East with all the fighting that will occur, but if all of the nations learn to be peaceful with one another, then maybe the Palestinian refugees would be welcome in all of the surrounding countries. If they were given full citizenship and equal rights, then the different countries would not have to worry about overcrowding in one area, and all the Arab countries and Israel would no longer have to struggle through the decisions needed to be made in order to give the refugees a place to live, food to eat, and education for their families.